All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fit 40 podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy parents 40 plus so they can improve their health and feel amazing. Today, we have an incredible guest with us. We have Ashley Dwyer in the house. She is a doctor of pharmacology, weight loss expert, and founder of BDN Coaching. Cannot wait to pick her brain on all things when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to things like PCOS, hypothyroidism, things like that I know a lot of you guys struggle with. So before I give away too much, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm so excited.
Yes,
Can't
cannot
wait
wait.
to dive
Now,
in. Hello,
before
guys.
we jump into specific things, I know that when probably one of our first conversations on Instagram, like we were talking about, like I made a post about something holistic or functional. You're like, but I'm holistic and functional. And I'm like, yeah, but you're one of the good ones because these waters can get muddied. And I think it can be confusing for a lot of the people, especially those listening. So when it comes to those labels, like what exactly do you think somebody should look for if somebody does label themselves holistic and functional that would serve them best and actually put them in a position to trust that person?
Yeah, no, I love this question and this distinction because you get a lot of even like MLM marketing women who are using these terms, and you're like, no, like this is not good. So, holistic, I mean, both of them kind of have the same premise, but are definitely different. So, holistic takes in physical, mental, emotional, basically all parts of your being into your health. So, like your mental health also plays a part in your results. Whereas functional health is more along the lines of like, let's treat that underlying root cause to like, that's the reason why we're experiencing the symptoms we are. So you can essentially do both at the same time, but honestly, functional health should not be a term used by anyone who does not have the credentials to read labs, understand how the body works, understand the root cause approach, like has different certifications and things. And then holistic, I feel like can
Just a
get a little
tad.
woo woo. um,
Just a
but I
tad.
think again, you what? Just a tad. But I think you still have to have an underlying idea of the science of the body in order to make sense of the holistic use of the word. It's not just like, let's meditate to make everything better. Like, you still have to understand how it all works in the body and why meditation
Yep,
may work in
absolutely.
the body,
And I
you know?
think too, it also comes down to understanding that everything has a value. And it's not like, oh, all Western medicine is just trying to send you down to pill mills and like try and get you in the big pharma scheme or whatever. There are things that actually need to get done when you're unhealthy. And sometimes it requires medication. But then there's also lifestyle stuff that gets overlooked, which I think is probably the biggest downside of the current medical model. It's like, understanding what lifestyle changes need to be made is step one, but how do we actually get people to do it, which I don't think the current system supports, where we as coaches see so much crazy progress and see these issues sometimes disappear.
100%. Yeah. As someone who worked in Western medicine, it is definitely more of like a symptom first treatment plan. I mean, granted, I didn't get nutrition training in medical school or in pharmacy school, and I know doctors really don't get a lot of nutrition training. So, people think that doctors are just like paid by big pharma.
Yeah,
I would love
my
my check. Where's my check? But it's
I was
more
gonna say
so
my
like,
fiance is a physician. Like if she's getting checks, I don't know about it. So like I got to do some
she's
digging.
got a
I really got
secret
to do
account
some
for
digging
him. So
after this.
yeah, like, where's my check? And like, it's not to the fault of physicians. It's just how things are taught, and they're really like there to help. But I think collaboratively working with coaches is the best thing we could do. Like, hand off nutrition and lifestyle to the coaches, and then
Yeah.
doctors take care
And
of
I
the
think another
meds if
thing
we need
too that
them.
does tend to happen is a lot of always and never statements, because based on data, they're not technically wrong. Like if they say you're never going to do this or this is always the case, 99 out of 100 people, that's probably going to apply to, because most people don't actually take an active role in their health. Yeah. Which I think
Hmm.
brings up one of the
Yep,
biggest things I wanted to talk to you about,
totally.
which was I saw a post of yours about how you had a client who had PCOS and then was told they'd never ever get their cycle back, but you guys found a way and you made it happen. So I'm interested in like what exactly got her to that point.
Yeah. So she's been with me for about 4 or 5 years now. So she's put in some work. She's put in the time to be healthier. And she first came to me not even wanting to get off birth control, not even any of that, just kind of hospitalized with pancreatitis from a large influx of triglycerides. So obviously her diet wasn't super great. So she came with me to work on that. And then understanding her other diagnoses and things like that, we started changing her diet, changing her exercise. And then it became, okay, well, maybe I kind of want to get off of my birth control so I can really see what my hormones are doing, because birth control is a band-aid, right? Like it's not, I know you go to your gynecologist, or women will go to their gynecologist and be like, I'm having these symptoms, I have PCOS. Doctors want to put them on birth control to balance their hormones. So for this client, she went to her OBGYN. They said, no, you will never have a normal cycle off of birth control because of your diagnosis. We don't recommend you get off of it. And then she's kind of a little spiteful like I am. So she's like, watch,
Challenge accepted.
like bet. Yeah. So we tried, and we had a good off-roading period first. Like we got her liver working properly, her gut working properly, and her nutrient status up, because nutrients are completely depleted with birth control, oral birth control, especially. Liver gets a little sluggish, gut health and microbiome is a little messed up. So we got her on a good path there, working on sleep, working on stress. Then she got off her birth control and we had normal cycles. We're like, well, now she's pregnant, but we had almost 3 years of normal cycles before they decided, her and her husband, to try for a baby. And they got pregnant very easy. So I'm just like, these are the reasons why I do what I do, like that kind of story.
Yeah. And
So
that's
awesome.
incredible. I mean, being able to do that, I'm assuming it may not be like, oh, guaranteed everybody can do this, but it's always worth giving it a try to find out, right? Like, why not put yourself in a position where it might happen?
No, 100%. And as a pharmacist who is giving out, clomiphene and other types of drugs to help increase fertility, well, not naturally, but on meds, now that I know what I know, I wish these type of patients that came in would have, maybe they did, I don't really know, but wish they would have spent more time with like lifestyle adjustments and diet and things like that, so that maybe we didn't need to go the
Yeah.
med
And I
route for
mean, like,
ovulation and
worst
for
case
cycle health,
scenario,
right?
somebody exercises more, they get their nutrition right, their digestion is in a better place. Like, why is that a bad thing? I mean, if anything, we're doing the doctors a service in a way where it's like we can give
Yeah.
them a blank slate and be like, okay, this is not an issue, this is not an issue, this is not an issue. Now you can just focus on that.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really think it is an issue. I don't think doctors mind, as long as the person is giving accurate information. If, like we were talking about at the beginning, if you have people just using the
Oh
buzzwords,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is
I just
doing
mean
more
from
harm
like
than
a
good.
physical standpoint where the patient is like, okay, I exercise, I do this, I do that. And it's like, okay. So we don't have to like go down that hole, because I think a lot of times it comes to the point where it's like, okay, we've told you to try and adjust your diet and try and move more, and you haven't done it for however long. The only next step is meds, because you're not doing this. And it's like, I think that's where people got to really start to seek out, like, how can I get better at this lifestyle stuff and master it? And yeah. And in that same breath, I'd
Thousand
love to
percent.
talk
I
about
agree.
more like
Yep.
common situations. I'm pretty sure every coach in the world has at one point or another had a client with hypothyroidism. So when it comes to something like that, what do you see as like the main things that have been contributing to it, and how you like to help people fix that?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So especially women are more susceptible to hypothyroidism than men. We're also way more susceptible to stress and sensitive to stress. So I think that obviously plays a huge role. But the majority of cases that we see of hypothyroidism are Hashimoto's. That's like the number one. So the autoimmune, which women have a lot of, and then, or have a higher chance of getting autoimmune diseases. And then it's a lot of secondary hypothyroidism, so caused from outside factors. Not really that there's anything wrong with the thyroid gland itself, like nodules or cancer or anything like that, but more so stress, our lifestyle, how we are treating our body, and then our thyroid is just trying to like make up for it and conserve energy so that we stay alive. So those are like the top common cases I see, is like Hashimoto's just going crazy, and then just secondary hypothyroidism
Gotcha.
lifestyle
Yeah, I
is
know
trashing
when
it.
it comes to that stuff, especially when it comes to alcohol entering the picture and stress management. I mean, let's be honest, most people don't have stress management techniques that don't involve food or booze, right? Yeah. So what are some of your favorite ways that you've
No,
seen
correct.
like
Yeah.
work really well with clients that have brought that stress level down?
I mean, for myself personally, because I know we like recently just met, but I can be very type A and I can be very like my brain does not shut off, right? So hence why my secondary hypothyroidism that I have. So I am not like your meditation girly. I know you hear like meditate, yoga, breath work, all these things. Like meditation and I just we don't get along. But journaling and I do. So, like writing down my thoughts or doing some breath work actually helps. Me going for a walk in nature and sunshine really helps. And that helps a lot of clients. Like, just get sunshine and just go in nature. And like, that helps most people. Um, a lot of breath work, a lot of like either box breathing, or you could do like this, what is it called? Four,
Oh
six,
yeah.
eight. Why can't I think of
Hey,
like the I'm not a
to
breath
be
work
fair,
expert
I've
here, but
heard
like,
every
I'm
number
like a
under
whole
the sun.
resource for clients.
There's 515, box breathing 444, like there's a million different
Yeah,
ones. It's like, okay, so we're basically just counting while we breathe, right?
correct. And this one specifically is exhaling longer than you inhale because that signals to your body to like drop into parasympathetic activity instead of sympathetic activity. So, vagal nerve stimulation. So, maybe you like to hum or sing or you dip your face in ice. Like it sounds like a craze online, but that actually does help for vagal nerve stimulation, which taps into our parasympathetic activity. And then, even I like recommending things for clients, so especially women, is find an activity that you can get into a flow state. So maybe that's coloring, painting, dancing, like anything that kind of takes you away from your device and what you're thinking about and distracts you for even a half hour is going to help you tap into more of like that parasympathetic state. And that's what we want to reduce cortisol. I'm not trying to demonize cortisol, but just reduce the stress state
So glad you
and
brought
kind of
up
help our
cortisol
hormones out of it.
because that was actually next on the list because I know many people are super focused on their cortisol levels now, but I always wonder when it comes to cortisol issues, it's like when people have like Cushing's, for example, you know it, you know that you have something wrong. Like, is all the cortisol fear, I guess,
Mhm.
valid, or are there a lot of missing pieces on social media?
So many missing pieces for everything. I'm actually going to be doing a free
Plug
training about
away.
this. So
It's going to
stay
be
tuned,
in the
audience. I don't
show
know when
notes.
this will be
If there's a
released, but
link, I will put it down there.
yeah. Listen, everyone's trying to reduce cortisol, but nobody really gets their cortisol tested. And then, even how accurate is that, depending on the time of day, if you're doing salivary, if you're doing blood, right? So, let's say you don't have high cortisol levels, but you think you do because some girl on Instagram told you that you do. And now you start taking like happy juice or ashwagandha or any other type of supplement, because that's kind of what it is like we're taking supplements to reduce cortisol. You don't want extremely low cortisol either. That's going to make you feel like crap. So, we need cortisol. It is essential for our response time anyway. Like if we're actually in danger for adrenaline, like we want cortisol. It does good things in our body. Obviously, too much, like what you're saying, even with Cushing's or the really round face. Like everyone listening, just Google Cushing's and you'll know what it is. Most people are not walking around like that, right? So the problem with cortisol is when it's chronically elevated and it stays elevated. Just the same with like blood sugar. It doesn't come back down. We're not doing a really good balance of it. We're staying in sympathetic activity a lot. So what happens with that is all of the processes where cortisol like inhibits our digestion because blood flow goes to our limbs and energy sources instead of digestion. Where it kind of inhibits thyroid conversion, where it kind of decreases our sex hormones, all of that stays. So that is really the problem, is the downregulation of the other areas that we need. And that's where we start to see some like really low thyroid symptoms, some fatigue, some burnout. We start to see irregular periods, maybe like no ovulation. I always like to say sex hormones are a luxury. They're not something that like you're guaranteed. So if your body's trying its hardest to keep you alive and keep you in like adrenaline state, why is it going to want to have a baby? Why is it going to want to also keep a baby alive, right? So it's going to inhibit some of those processes down the line. And then we get more fat storage and water retention. So cortisol, it's missing a lot of pieces. Like we need to actually probably get it tested. It needs to be a perceived stress type of thing. And then even when it comes to stress, a lot of people don't know that like undereating is a stressor. Overeating is a stressor. Overtraining, undertraining, alcohol consumption, I think we know, but toxic load, endocrine disrupting chemicals, like different things like that can also be stressors on the body. And they're not realizing that And so then we just get this overabundance. It needs to just be a balance. I
There
like to
you
play a
go.
barter game with my clients.
And I'm glad you brought up the low cal, high cal. Like it's all stressors. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like people don't realize when your libido is like super low in a deficit, it's like that's kind of a side effect that can be very common, as well as like sleep disruptions and things like that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to getting people out of these low, or actually, let's back up for a second. I wanted to talk about forever dieting because I think this is like kind of where we're going with this, which a lot of people find themselves in. And I'm guilty as well. I've been like forever dieter forever and then finally experienced a maintenance phase and I'm like, this is heaven. What would you say to someone who is like just constantly on a diet? They're always on something and they never really get this opportunity to experience that.
Man, and what's interesting, like something to add to that is they're always on a diet, but they're always on a diet because they're technically also not always on a diet. Like clearly they're eating in excess somewhere because they've gained weight, they have weight they want to lose, they're not losing weight. So they constantly go into these like fad diets. So you're just not really experiencing what the beauty of maintenance could look like for you. Instead, you're living in this roller coaster of like, I'm eating too much and then I want to reduce and restrict and go extreme. It's miserable. I used to be one of those too. It wasn't until I was probably 30 that I entered my first maintenance phase and was like, I can eat this much food and like
Yeah, I
not
think
gain
30 is
weight.
that magical
What?
age where we have some wisdom hit us in the face. We're like, "Oh, this will be nice."
Yeah. Well, I think it's because we're also, we're going into 30s and we assume our metabolism slows down, which it doesn't. And we're not as active as maybe we were in our college years or, mid 20s. So then we're like, oh, we got to like change something. And maybe we hired a coach. Like I hired a coach to go into maintenance. I was not going to make myself eat more food on my
Yeah,
own.
sometimes you just need
No
somebody to
way.
tell you to do the right things and eventually they actually get done. Just yep. If only there were
Yep.
things like coaches. Oh
Accountability.
wait. But I'm glad that you brought up the fact that a lot of people are actually not always in a diet and they're just like kind of peaks and valleys as far as calories are concerned. But I think one of the very overlooked things is the mental fatigue that comes with being on a diet. Like, can't have this, can't have that. And have you seen, like, when it comes to the psychological side of things, a lot of people struggle with that. And how would they get past that point?
Oh my gosh, yes. The restrict because when we go on a diet, like people again are not really working with coaches. They don't know what they don't know, right? So we've always been taught like we need to restrict, we need to go extreme, we need to go 0 to 100, we need to go 75 hard to see results, right? And we don't really need to do any of those things because we end up not being able to keep doing them. We're not consistent, they're not sustainable. So then we end up going off that diet, eating way more, and that's where we get those peaks and valleys, right? So psychologically speaking, that is exhausting. And you and I both know when we're in maintenance and then you finally drop into like a diet, you're like, this sucks. Why do people like doing
Yep.
this
Yep. When you see the
forever?
other side, you're like, why? Why?
You're like, why did I do this for years? But I really see the mental aspect coming out as more of like the all or nothing mindset. Like I need to be 100% with this or do it or not do it at all. And that's what we break constantly with our clients is just the mental and the behavior change first.
Yeah,
And then we can start
it's funny
seeing
you say that because I feel
results.
like I'm having that conversation every week. We do like a client group call, and I'm like, I feel like I'm talking about all or nothing pretty much every single week at some point. It's common.
Time to
Yes,
create a
exactly,
resource.
exactly. Now, another thing too, when it comes to the whole calorie discussion,
Yeah.
is reverse dieting. Now, I always do a deep dive on every guest's Instagram just to see what they're into lately. And I saw an exchange between you and Alan Bacon, and I'm like, ooh, two people that I think are have valid points here. And it was basically versus the physiological and psychological side of reverse dieting, because I know a lot of people hear this term and they're like, ooh, what's that? And as coaches, we know physiologically, it's just a way to get your calories up to where they should be, but we don't need to do that gradually. We can just go right there. But why would we not want to do that, at least in your experience? And I'm pretty sure I'm going to agree with you on this.
Yeah. So, I mean, working with women is way different sometimes than working with men, and especially women who are afraid to eat. Reverse dieting, yes, there's no scientific data around it that we need to reverse diet. You could just plop right onto maintenance, like you said, right? But depending on what a woman thinks she's eating or actually is eating versus where her maintenance is, and we don't even like know her true maintenance at that point, it might be calculated. And like I said, we work with a lot of like PCOS and hypothyroid clients, so their maintenance may be lower. The issue is if I have to add 400 plus calories to get to maintenance, I'm gonna reverse diet them slowly because psychologically, adding in that much food, they're gonna be super full and frustrated. They are going to be bloated and retaining a lot of water from all the carbs. Their digestion's gonna be messed up for a bit, especially with the increase of protein and fiber and carbs, right? Fat. So all of that is probably already slowed. So if I dump all that onto their plate, they're going to be like, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm out. I don't want it. And then they won't be consistent. They won't be adherent. And then we have no results. So if they're ready, even with the education of like, listen, the faster we get to maintenance, the faster you'll see results. Some of them I can just educate them on the side effects and they'll be good to go. Others, it's like, no way. I am not eating that much food. And then we have to do it really gradual. So I agree with both concepts, but a lot of the time with our ladies, and I was one of them,
Yeah,
we
this
have
is
to
one of those
go
cases where it's
slow
like
and
it's
steady
all true. Everything that
to
has
speed.
been said is true. It's just like, I mean, at a
Mhm.
certain point, you look a client and then you say in the eye and you say, "Hey, based on this, we should do this," and they're like, "Nope." We're like, "Okay, so what do we do here?"
Yeah, like we can have all the expertise in the world, but if the client isn't going to do it, what's the point? So we have to like meet them where they're at, and
Yeah.
then
And
like,
this is why it
baby
helps,
step
again,
it
having a coach
sometimes.
in your corner just to be like, hey, we can navigate these waters together instead of you hearing a clip on social media saying reverse dieting's bullshit. Just jump to maintenance and then you experience all those effects that you just talked about.
Exactly. And then they're like, never mind, maintenance is not for me. I gained so much weight. And then they get this opinion that they can never eat at maintenance. And you're like, no, that's
Exactly.
not
The
it.
the
Give it like
time
two
frame is
weeks. I
so important
promise.
that I think a lot of people do miss out on. It's like you need 2 to 4 weeks to make sure that some of this stuff works. But meanwhile, we're going off of day-to-day fluctuations. And S- speaking of that, I wanted to talk
Mhm.
about phases, especially when it comes to like the female cycle, because I know some people will get really frustrated when they go for a weigh in or when they go to take measurements and it's the wrong time of their cycle and it just looks like nothing good has happened. So, in your experience, what is like the best time to weigh in if and to take measurements and do all that around a cycle?
Honestly, we have our clients weigh every day if we can. Obviously, there's going to be different circumstances for different clients, but the more data points, the better, right? So I want clients weighing fasted, after using the restroom, before eating or drinking, naked if possible. I want this data point every day. And then regardless of where you are in your cycle, it's fine. I still want the information. But what we won't do is compare our luteal phase weight to our ovulation phase weight. We're going to compare luteal to luteal, right? So if we're having weekly check-ins, we should be able to go back 4 weeks from that luteal phase and see, okay, this is when you're in your last luteal phase. Have we lost? Have we gained? We can't be comparing like our follicular best selves to our luteal
Yep.
hermit gremlin mode. It's just not
Yep.
fair. It's not fair to
And
us. Why do
I
we
I
do that?
genuinely ask this out of curiosity because I mostly work with women who are peri or postmenopausal, so it's like not something I usually see a lot of. But I mean, it's very important to know
Oh,
this,
yeah.
especially in the early phases of perimenopause, for example, when you still are getting a your not monthly, but like periodic period where it's like kind of on its way.
Yeah, and honestly, perimenopause can be chaotic on its own. You'll have random hormone bursts here and there. The sleep will
Yeah.
affect you. Cortisol is definitely affecting you. So again, I think it's really important to do the more data points the better because you'll be able to see those fluctuations. I'm sure you educate them on the fluctuations and
Yep.
what they mean so we're not freaking out about the scale, right? Um yeah.
uh
Perimenopause is a
I love all those ladies for putting up with
special
my crap
time.
during that time of their lives. It is not an easy transition, ladies. I feel for you. I really do.
Oh, you know what? It's crazy. I was just talking to my boyfriend about it and I was like, when that time comes for me, like HRT was getting such a bad rap before, but I
Yeah.
was like, I potentially no, we're doing
Yeah,
it.
and that's
Like, I
another
think we're
interesting
gonna do
talk
it.
conversation as well, just to like have everybody on the same page as far as, is HRT applicable? Is it appropriate based on like X, Y, and Z? And there's so few providers out there that actually are very well versed in that stuff. So, I mean, having somebody in your corner that is in the Menopause Society, formerly NAMS, like would be a huge, huge help. But is there anything else that you think, any resources that you think you're going to, at that point, reference, or things that you're going to look into?
Honestly, that is a great question. And since it's not like, this is where I'll be like, this is not our specialty of HRT and like menopause. It isn't my wheelhouse at the moment, but I'm sure I will become hyper
Naturally,
fixated on it
naturally.
at my next and then go through everything. But yeah, now I'm hyper fixated on gut health. Like that's like a special area I'm wanting to learn more about. But the hormone thing, even as a pharmacist, like we were always taught like no HRT, like HRT is dangerous, clots, breast cancer, like all of like, so just cancer. That was like the overwhelming umbrella. And now there's a lot more data out that's like, no, that's not actually true. It's actually way more beneficial. But again, person specific. Like if you have a hereditary breast cancer thing in your family, is probably not the best option for you, right? Or if you have a history of ovarian, like anything like that. Obviously person specific, but I think it's coming out now that it's like not as
Yeah.
dangerous. So just
And
keep
to be
following the data
and
like
to
we
put a
do.
little
And
positive spin on all this, like it is one of those areas of research that is booming right
yeah,
now. Or like, yeah, it was. It still is, but
huge.
we're gonna find out a lot of stuff in the next like 10 to 20 years, because people are very, very focused on this stuff right now, which is awesome to see. And I know that I've had a couple of providers on this show that have given us some great info, and it turns out like with HRT, it's a very personalized cocktail. So it's like the more personalized and specific we can get, usually that's going to have better outcomes and less side effects. Yeah. And
100%.
just like
Just
coaching, it
like
all comes full circle.
coaching.
Did we mention we're coaches, by the way? Um, and the other thing I wanted to touch on too is supplements, because so many people are really reaching for those supplements. When we talk about things like cortisol, for example, or even these other things that require actual pharmaceutical medications, but they're being pushed, these BS supplements that are not regulated or tested. So when it comes to this situation, are there any specific supplements that you actually like really like to recommend?
Yeah. I mean, I love, like, I was just having this conversation with my team the other day. Like, three supplements that I could probably out the gate without seeing blood work recommend to everyone, with disclaimers, obviously, but this is not medical advice. Vitamin D. Pretty much everyone is deficient in vitamin D. That's a supplement I think a lot of people should probably be on. Magnesium is another one. I would feel comfortable recommending magnesium to most people because they're under optimal on that, or suboptimal on that. And then creatine, I think most people should take. Like I'm going to assume you don't have a kidney issue, but creatine would be great. Everything else needs to be really, really person specific. And I mean, there are definitely supplements I like recommending to people depending on their issue, like stomach stuff can be L-glutamine, or we've even had to do some like stomach acid protocols, and those supplements work really well. B complexes, like methylated B complexes, vitamin C sometimes. I don't love other supplements that I think get prescribed too much. I don't even like iron. Like I
Well,
don't like
I mean, let's
recommending
be honest.
iron
When it
to
comes to
female
iron,
to women
some of
clients.
the times people that are told, yeah, you should be on an iron supplement, really need that next level of like injections. Like it's not like it's just not doing enough.
I mean, or like what I've found too with like what we do, they have an absorption issue, like they have a gut issue. So we have that, they have that problem. They're not eating, we see this with obviously a lot of vegetarians, like you're not eating beef, you're not eating enough iron rich foods. We're not eating enough like vitamin C to help iron absorption. So there's just like, so this is where all the body systems are connected, like what we were talking about in the beginning. And so it's not as easy as like, let me hand you an iron supplement, let me constipate you, and then also make your stuff worse. Or you have too much iron, but it's not moving well throughout your body. So it looks like you have low iron. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. So that would never be like a blanket
Yeah.
statement that I would
Yeah.
just
And I
put
like how you
people
said, like,
on.
you almost started it
Mhm.
off with blood work. It's like when it comes to supplementation, like that should be step number one. It's like if you do think you need one, get blood work. Find out if you're actually deficient.
A question. Do you
No,
do you recommend
because
electrolytes to
I
your clients?
personally think that most
Okay.
people do not need electrolyte supplements because sodium is so through the roof and 1 in 2 people has hypertension at this point. So what the hell are we doing? But that's just my personal opinion.
We are No, I mean, this is why I asked. I was like, I want to know. No, I agree. I think that the standard American diet is like way too much sodium anyway, and now we're adding like 1,000 milligram stick of it,
Yeah.
every
And
morning.
not to mention when it does come to sodium and
Okay.
you are physically active, the recommendation is 300 to 700 milligrams in addition to the 15 to 2300 milligrams that is the RDA. And it's like that's way over still. It's still absurd.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then if you're just having too much sodium, but you're not replacing
Yeah,
potassium
because
or
most of these are
magnesium,
not
like
like
then we have another
full
issue.
electrolyte
So
powders where they're actually like balanced out. It's just a crap load of sodium and then maybe a little bit of potassium and magnesium sprinkled in. Maybe some calcium if you're lucky. Yeah.
just like
Yeah. Just
just to look
a little
good, just to
dash.
like
But before we go
okay.
too off the rails with supplements, there was another topic I wanted to touch on that is a hot topic lately, and that is trackers. So when it comes to activity trackers, when it comes to monitors, like when we're talking like rings, watches, straps, what are some that you actually like? Because I know that there's good, there's bad. Like, what are your favorites when it comes to that, as far as coaching clients and being able to get some actual reliable feedback?
Yeah, if they do have a wearable, right? I mean, I personally have both a Whoop and an Aura ring. So I'm like a double data girly over here. I really like the Aura ring. I like when clients have it. I can track sleep reports, I can do activity, I can do things like that. Not many of my clients have like Garmin's or any of those, but I've heard Garmin's really great. We have a lot of Apple Watch users, and my only issue with Apple Watch is it like insinuates that you need to like close the rings all the time, but like sometimes that can be like a negative type of behavior towards your wearable. Regardless of whatever wearable you have, please don't pay attention to the calories burned on it. And that's what I have to say to every client that I have. Like, don't pay attention to that. We're looking at recovery, we're looking at sleep, we're looking at heart rate and HRV trends, and
That
we're
is,
looking
I
at that,
literally
but
just wrote
don't
that.
pay
I'm like,
attention to
we got to
calories.
cover this. But for
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
wondering
Stop it.
why, isn't
It's
that
so
like
wrong.
part of the equation, like calories burned versus calories consumed? Like, why wouldn't you track that?
Okay, we are going to do a live example right now because I'm going to go to my Whoop and we're going to see how many calories I burned yesterday. And it's going to tell me, where is it? They just changed this whole thing. Okay, yesterday I burned 1,675 calories according to my Whoop. And that was a leg day. So that's not that's not accurate. But 1,675. And then my Aura is letting me know, okay, Aura just did a whole different upgrade. And now I'm like, where? I don't want to waste time on here, but I'm like, where? There's the calories. Okay. Yesterday I burned 2,000 according to Aura. They're wildly off, right? We got 675 and 2,000 just on the same body. But my maintenance, like that would mean that I would need to eat in a diet if I was looking at these to lose weight. According to Whoop, I would need to eat like 1,300 calories. And according to Aura, I would need to eat 1,700 calories. My real deficit is like 2,200 calories. So they're just way off. It underestimates my activity, but a lot of people I see it overestimating activity depending on heart rate and what they're doing. Like it's just not accurate. They're never the same. It's not stable. Um, I just don't think it's a good measure
Yeah.
of
And if we're talking
calorie
deficit, I
burn
mean,
at all.
how do you know if there's a 400 calorie difference? Like, you could potentially, like, say 1600 was yours, but you have 2000 showing. Congratulations. Now your deficit is no longer a deficit, it's maintenance. And you're just like, what the hell? I thought this was a deficit, and you're stuck. Like when MyFitnessPal gives you calories back. It's like that's the dumbest thing of all time. And it's a novelty to sell people on. But then in reality, that's why people hate MyFitnessPal and get stuck.
I don't even know why they would have that on there. Like if
Yeah.
you're a good
And even
app, like
Chronometer
take that
has it. And I'm
off.
just like,
Take
Chronometer
it
is one of the better ones, especially calculations wise, because it doesn't stick you at 1200 immediately, like MyFitnessPal was notorious for. But like, it's step one, if you guys are tracking calories, get rid of adding calories back in. Yep,
Totally. It's
absolutely.
already calculated in your
Absolutely.
total.
Now, the
Don't need to add
final
it.
note that I had that I wanted to touch on, because this is a very, very important topic that I know everybody needs to hear. What is the best French fry? I told you I do deep dives. I do deep dives on people's
For
Instagrams, and
the
I know
listener.
you are a very avid and passionate French fry enthusiast.
Yes. Okay. So this is funny to people too, because I'm a health coach, I'm a pharmacist, like hormones, whatever. And I love French fries. They are like my guilty pleasure. And I have them all the time. And someone came across and was like, you should rate them. Like you should start rating them and do like a highlight. And I was like, do people care about this? And then it just became a thing. So if you go on my Instagram, I have a whole highlight of French fries and me rating them. Okay. I think if I can remember, one of my favorites, one of the best, I don't even have a photo of this because it was early on in my French fry game. There is a barbecue place here called Lambert's. It's like a fancier barbecue place, and they have a waffle fry, and it was perfect, like beyond perfect. And then I think I have some others that rate in the nines. But I don't count beer battered French fries. I think that's cheating.
I like how there's these
We already know
standards.
it's going to be
Got to
good.
hold the standard.
It's got to be a basic French fry because I'm also gluten free. So if we're doing like beer battered French fries and things like that, they're not usually gluten free. So it's rated on like potato to like ratio, like how much potato, the crisp, the saltiness, the flavor. I'm just a connoisseur. So me and my balanced lifestyle
Hey, if we're
of
being
French fries and
honest, the
tequila.
healthiest, like most in shape people we know, for the most part, we indulge. Like it's we're normal humans. The people that don't are psychotic, and you don't want that lifestyle anyway. But I mean, to your point with the whole rating system, people do love their ratings. I did one on energy drinks, and people loved it. Also in my highlights. So once you guys are done checking Ashley's French fry reviews, check out the oh no, actually I deleted them. Dang. I forgot. Never mind, guys. Sorry to get your hopes up. But
Wait, what did you rate
so
the
it
energy
was
drinks on?
1
Like
out of
what was the
10, and
scale?
then it was
Or like
basically just
why?
taste, like as far as if it was good, bad, horrible, and closeness to the real thing. Like if they labeled it as like Coca-Cola or something like that. Like this I would consider like their take on Sprite. And I'll tell you right now, what brand was it? I want to say it was might have been Bang Energy came out with a Coca-Cola flavor, and I'm like, this is going to be garbage. This is going to be horrible. I poured it and I'm like, this is Diet Coke. Whoa. It took me by surprise. I had my coworkers do a review with me. I'm like, I'm not
That's
BSing, right?
No, that's awesome. It's funny that you said energy drinks and taste. I got like an Alani new and I never really get them. And it was the orange one. It does not taste like orange at
Yeah.
all. And I love orange.
Alani
So I was
has
like,
some
this
hit
is
or
crap.
miss,
This
and
is
my
not.
fiance loves Alani's, like every single one except peach. She's very against peach of all kinds. But yeah, I like the peach rings. Like the Genius Shot came out with one that theirs are solid. But affiliate code down below. But when it comes to Alani, there are some hit or miss. Like that witch's brew, can't stand that aftertaste. But the cherry, what is it, slushy? That one's pretty good.
Yeah, I read. Yeah, that's so funny. I love it. Okay, so all of us in the fitness industry just rating
Yes,
different
we'll bring
things.
in
We'll have a
experts from
collaboration at some point.
all across the US, Europe, and we'll collaborate. I'll do energy drinks, you got french fries, we'll find somebody for milkshakes, burgers, we'll get it all.
Honestly though, Brian, this to bring it back to like the beginning, this is what we're talking about of like holistic health too. Like if you're so strict and you don't allow yourself to be balanced and you don't allow yourself to have any indulgences or almost like, I mean, when I was younger, I had orthorexia nervosa. So like a definite just over fixation on being healthy. That's not healthy. Like mental, that is the mental portion of your health and wellness and being balanced. And so I think like you said, to our point, everyone we know is some balance. They partake in maybe a beverage or two, maybe not. Maybe they don't like smoking, but they're or drinking, but they may like something else, different types of food. You got to live life too. We have to remember that we're spending all this time extending it, but like
Yeah.
we need
And
to
and
live it a
with your
little
personal history, I
sometimes.
appreciate you sharing that. Would you say that a lot of what we see on social media from certain people that unfortunately have really large followings might fall in line with that same criteria, just trying to justify it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are doing rage bait, clickbait, like go in the grocery store and demonize things. And then, you know what, though? I think a lot of it's hypocritical because they'll demonize like seed oils, and then I'll see them personally. I know them, and they'll be eating a bunch of crap with seed oils. And you're like, wait a minute, right? Um, so it's all a highlight reel and it's all fake. It kind of is. But I think that definitely perpetuates into the behavior of
Yeah.
disordered
Yeah. Because
eating
I mean, I
versus
know
balanced eating.
as somebody in fitness,
Big
in
time.
nutrition, people see you eating a French fry or having a drink and they're like, but you're a fitness person. And I think that's the real problem. It's like we need to learn how to have it all just in the right amounts.
The amount of comments
Yeah.
I get on
It's
that is
never, just
hilarious,
so everybody can
actually.
understand,
Yeah.
it's never fun being the fitness person at a party. It's never fun.
Don't judge me. Don't look at what I'm eating.
Yeah.
It's da 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 da.
Oh,
I'm like, I'm
I
not. I'm
miss
really
being
not.
at
I
the gym I
promise.
used to be at. And for anybody who is a former client listening, GFP people, you'll know this. There was a grocery store right down the way, and I would have to pick it up on the way home because that was the only time I had to grocery shop. And I'd see people and they'd be like, look away. And I'm like, did you see the cookies over there? They look so good.
There you go. There, you were a safe
Oh
coach.
no,
They
I
could
just
talk
did
to
it
you
for the
about their
shock because
cookie
of like, wait,
intake.
what? Yep, yep. But on that
I
note,
love it.
that seems like a
Perfect.
really good way to put a cap on it. But before we head out and put and close this out, where can people find you if they're like, "Wow, Ashley's incredible. I want to see her stuff. I want to get in on these master classes that she talked about." Where can they find you? Yes,
I want
most
to check out her
importantly.
French fry ratings. You can find me exactly. The easiest place to find me and chat with me if you want to slide in my DMs, I'm very active, is on Instagram. So at Dr. Dwyer, DRER. That is the best place to find me. Same thing on TikTok if you're a TikTok girl, but I don't really do messages there. But Instagram's the best, or they can do my website if you want to check out what we do. But
Always,
I'm
always, guys.
show
It's going to
notes
be in the
maybe.
show notes or the
I
description wherever
don't
you're
have to say
watching
it
or
all.
listening. That way, you can just click away. Don't have to search for anything. And I get, and I, of course, and I can tell you guys right now, if you do want
Awesome.
to
Thank
slide into
you.
her DM, she's super responsive, not one of these people that leaves you on red for days and days. You will get a response pretty quick, at least in my experience.
Yes.
Yeah,
Boundaries. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, obviously our business
yeah.
is there. So I have terrible boundaries,
Yeah. No,
guys.
that's a different topic for a different day. But thank you so much for hopping on. I appreciate you spreading all this wisdom and giving people actionable tips. I know everybody listening definitely got a thing or two. And if anybody listening has heard something where they're like, oh my God, my friend, my family member needs to hear this, go ahead and send it their way. They'll thank you for it. And so will we. All right. So again, thank you guys for making it all the way through. Until next time, I'll see you later. But until then, go kick some ass. Bye bye. It really did.